Tasty Floor, and you know what I'm talking about here on my channel right now.
The Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni situation has entered a new phase as fresh deposition material has surfaced, adding more layers to what already felt like a complicated behind-the-scenes story. And the moment these records were unsealed, the internet buzz immediately went into overdrive. So today I'm breaking down the major sections in a calm, grounded way without leaning into any unverified claims, just explaining what was said, how it was interpreted, and why it matters within the context of a demanding, high-pressure Hollywood production. And while we go through these details, we also have a range of other entertainment stories brewing, from Diddy facing new pushback over a documentary dispute involving 50 Cent, to Nick Viall and his wife Natalie reacting to conversations around Whitney Levitt's Broadway casting, all the way to lighter pop culture moments that rounded out what has been an unusually dense news cycle. So as we settle in, let me remind anyone who's new to the channel that we lean into entertainment coverage with a bit of commentary, a bit of humor, and plenty of nuance, especially during the holiday season where emotions run high and people often just want a moment to relax. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope the final stretch of the year brings something warm for you. And before we dive into the newly unsealed materials, I always like to mention that every year our community does a single mom Christmas wish list, which is genuinely one of the highlights of our channel culture. We gather names of moms in need, collect their Amazon wish lists, and anyone who wants to help can send gifts directly to them. And I've been previewing some of the clips sent in by the moms this year, real stories. Real people, like a single mom navigating her first year without child support while raising 3 children. And those videos hit harder than any headline or celebrity scandal, so if you want to be part of that, the link is in the description, and even a small contribution makes a big difference during a tough year when many are stretched thin. Now, let's shift into the depositions because the volume of material is huge, almost overwhelming, and I've pulled 5 major sections that help map out the bigger picture. None of this is about taking sides, it's about understanding how misunderstandings, communication breakdowns, and creative differences can snowball within the pressure cooker of a big studio film. So let's begin with the section about Jenny Slate expressing discomfort regarding certain interactions during production. Specifically, her concerns shared with producer Alex Sachs, who then relayed those concerns to Justin, and according to the transcript, the notes included that Jenny had mixed feelings about a recording from pre-production meetings, a wardrobe-related comment on set, and the fact that Justin sometimes engaged with waiting fans outside the filming location. Now, fan engagement is always a tricky thing in New York City. Productions attract crowds. Those crowds can become energetic, and while some cast members enjoy stepping outside to greet supporters, others prefer privacy or need to stay focused. And from the deposition, the picture painted wasn't one of wrongdoing but rather different personalities clashing under stressful conditions. Jenny is described as more private and reserved, whereas Justin appeared more open and appreciative toward the fans. Waiting all day, and neither approach is wrong. It's simply a difference in comfort levels and work styles. Then the transcript turned toward a unique detail regarding the much-discussed recording incident, which online conversations had exaggerated into something dramatic, but the deposition clarified it as a Zoom meeting recording during the early creative discussions, not some secretive or hidden setup. And anyone who has used Zoom knows the software itself announces to all participants when recording begins. So the suggestion here appears less about covert behavior and more about miscommunication, maybe a misunderstanding about who initiated the recording or whether all participants were aware, which, again, is something that happens in fast-paced creative sessions when multiple assistants, producers, or tech personnel are involved. The deposition then mentioned that Alex Sachs at one point suggested to Sony that they consider replacing Justin in May 2023, citing discomfort expressed by Jenny Slate and describing her own belief that she was capable of managing more aspects of the production than she was permitted to. And while that might sound dramatic, these sentiments aren't unusual. In Hollywood, where strong personalities, competing visions, and hierarchical structures often collide, producers feel protective of their projects, directors feel responsible for the artistic vision, and actors want to feel safe, respected, and understood during a process that often leaves them emotionally drained. When the transcript framed Jenny's concerns about housing arrangements and comments related to her status as a new mother, the context suggested a general sensitivity around the challenges of filming in New York City while balancing childcare, and while her discomfort was genuine, it didn't point to malicious behavior from others. Rather, it highlighted how even Well-intentioned gestures or logistical decisions can feel overwhelming when someone is juggling work and parenthood in a demanding environment. The deposition also conveyed that Jenny preferred minimal interaction with certain individuals due to feeling overwhelmed or uncomfortable, which again isn't abnormal. Many performers create boundaries to maintain emotional energy during shooting, especially on projects with long hours and high expectations. Now, what makes all of this so intense is the sheer scale of the legal battle, where small interpersonal misunderstandings have ballooned into a mountain of paperwork, fees, competing narratives, and internet speculation. Team Blake supporters see her as protecting her craft. Team Justin supporters see him as navigating a challenging project with patience, and realistically, the truth probably sits somewhere in a gray zone where stress, ego, and misalignment created problems that now look much bigger in hindsight. Tomorrow and throughout. The weekend will keep unpacking more of the materials because the amount of information is massive, truly like trying to drink from a fire hose. And before moving into the next section, I want to highlight one more interesting deposition moment. Justin mentioning a phone call with director Sean Levy, who is described as a close friend of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, where Justin felt that the call wasn't simply a friendly professional check-in, but seemed subtly directed toward guiding or advising him on how to navigate working with Blake on the movie. Now, tone is hard to capture in transcripts, and Justin didn't accuse Sean of wrongdoing, only said he felt the call was intended to course-correct him in some way, which could mean anything from friendly advice to a gentle nudge to maintain harmony on set. Hollywood is full of these whispered communications where people who are friends with certain actors try to keep productions running smoothly, and it doesn't necessarily imply manipulation, just the messy dynamics of a major studio film. And so we wrap with the depositions setting the stage for a dispute that continues to swell because of the mixed personalities involved, the extraordinary scrutiny, and the emotional weight placed on the creative process. And after I take a breath, we'll dive into part 2 where we'll explore the broader entertainment news cycle, the Nick Viall-Whitney Levitt situation, the Diddy 50 Cent documentary feud, and several other stories that shaped the conversation this week. Shifting away from the depositions for a moment, the rest of the entertainment world has been equally busy, particularly with the conversation surrounding Nick Viall, Natalie Joy, and their commentary about Whitney Levitt's transition from reality TV fame to Dancing with the Stars and now onto Broadway, where she's set to play Roxy Hart in Chicago. And this entire discussion lit up social platforms because it brought up old tensions about who deserves career opportunities and whether public reactions are shaped more by personal bias than objectivity. On their podcast, Nick and Natalie shared concerns about how Whitney was balancing her family life alongside her career moves. Questions about relocating the kids for filming, adjusting schedules, and navigating the demanding nature of Broadway productions. And while some fans interpreted their tone as genuine curiosity, others felt it echoed a subtle judgment or skepticism about Whitney's rise. Especially because the internet tends to scrutinize female performers in a way that male entertainers rarely experience. Meanwhile, critics online argued that it was unfair for people to question Whitney's choices when many entertainers, including Nick himself, have taken on intense professional commitments while juggling family responsibilities, and this sparked a broader conversation about how we often romanticize male ambition while treating female ambition as something that must be justified or micromanaged. Then things grew more heated when viewers reacted strongly, posting videos suggesting that Natalie's tone came off as dismissive, with comments accusing her of jealousy or condescension. Although it's important to emphasize that reactions like these are based on perception, not established fact. Tone is subjective, clips circulate out of context, and social media thrives on rapid conclusions. In the middle of this online storm, Whitney's family posted a short, heartwarming video of their kids excitedly dancing around, celebrating their mom's new Broadway role, and it worked as a gentle counterweight to the swirling commentary. Just a family happy for their mother achieving something she worked toward, regardless of how she reached that opportunity. And honestly, if there's a modern lesson buried inside the Whitney debate, it's that traditional career paths are disappearing fast. Social media is unpredictable, opportunity looks different than it did 20 years ago, and people who adapt quickly often end up in unconventional roles, which is exactly why Whitney's leap from TikTok to national television to Broadway doesn't need an elaborate justification. Her journey is hers, and whether people like or dislike the route she took, the entertainment industry has always rewarded charisma, visibility, persistence, and timing. Later in the week, we pivoted into another developing story, one involving Sean Diddy Combs and 50 Cent, whose long-standing tension resurfaced after 50 Cent announced he had obtained behind-the-scenes footage intended for an upcoming Netflix documentary. Diddy's team responded firmly, stating that some of this footage was unauthorized or improperly obtained and issuing a cease and desist to Netflix, which escalated the situation into a legal and PR standoff. Though again, it's important to underline that these disputes happen often in documentary filmmaking, especially when sensitive archival materials, licensing issues, or rights management conflicts come into play. 50 Cent claimed he got the footage from a cameraman and implied that the release of the documentary could shed light on aspects of Diddy's public life, while Diddy's team pushed back against the framing, calling it a biased portrayal. This is a classic example of two highly influential figures clashing over control of their own narratives, something that becomes even more intense in the streaming era where documentaries often shape public opinion before legal facts are established. Then, moving into a lighter though still attention-grabbing story, former Bachelor contestant Maddie Pruitt-Trout appeared in E! News discussing the concept of being a submissive wife, which she said was initially challenging but eventually became meaningful in her marriage. Reactions were mixed, with some praising her interpretation within the context of her faith while others expressed discomfort with the phrasing, especially in a modern cultural environment where conversations about relationships, independence, and equality are highly charged. Maddie's comments weren't harmful or controversial in a malicious sense. They were simply reflective of her personal beliefs. But since she is married to the son of a billionaire, the internet naturally added layers of humor and sarcasm, turning it into a momentary trending subject, wrapping everything together. This week demonstrated how entertainment news isn't just about celebrity actions. It's also about the public projecting, interpreting, and debating meaning behind those actions. Whether it's Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni navigating what appears to be a very complicated professional relationship under a microscope, or Whitney Levitt navigating the jump from social media performer to Broadway actress, or Diddy and 50 Cent turning long-running tension into a legal back and forth, or Nick and Natalie learning how quickly one podcast comment can ignite a wave of assumptions, the pattern is the same. Modern fame intersects with audience emotion, industry pressure, and the speed of social platforms that amplify everything, sometimes beyond what the original people involved ever intended. As we head into the weekend, I'll continue breaking down the remaining deposition segments from the Baldoni Lively case in a balanced, measured way that avoids sensationalism, focusing solely on what was said, how lawyers framed questions, and how normal workplace miscommunication can escalate when high-profile careers are involved. I'll also update you on the documentary feud as Netflix responds, track the evolving Whitney Levitt discussion as her Broadway debut approaches, and cover any developments surrounding Nick Viall and Natalie Joy as more reactions surface. Because if there's one truth about entertainment culture as we enter 2026, it's that stories rarely stay static. They evolve, ripple outward, and gather new context as more voices join the conversation. And that's exactly why we follow them closely, calmly, and with an eye on fairness rather than drama. Wrapping up this week's marathon of entertainment news with a reminder to enjoy your weekend. Take care of yourself, and tune in for more updates as they land.